A controversial man of God, pastor of hate and division, is on the run in Yaoundé, Cameroon's political capital city, after the release of a video in which he made insultive and shocking comments and declarations against Anglophones, and the release in which he told faithfuls and worshippers of his church in Yaoundé that Cameroonians must be delivered of the Bamileke and Anglophone spirit, and the spirit tied and dumped to the dustbin for Cameroon to be able to advance. Security officials are hunting the very controversial man of God, who is now regarded and qualified by some Cameroonians of a pastor of tribalism, division and hate in Cameroon. Also in this edition of the news, the human rights group's report that has dismissed some facts given by the Ministry of Defense in Cameroon upon the declarations which relates to the burnings of houses and killings, destruction of properties at Mbengwe Road, a neighborhood in Bamenda chief town of the northwest region of Cameroon. We shall again be looking at the report in this edition of the news with some very latest images coming from the northwest regional chief town Bamenda. And also in this newscast, we shall be taking you to one of the very old subdivisions in Cameroon, old and neglected. We're talking about Nwa. You want to know what Nwa has become. In this edition of the news, ladies and gentlemen, still Equinoxe. Thanks for choosing to get connected to Equinoxe Television. You're on to the primetime newscast on Equinoxe. We live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city, Equinoxe Central News Desk. We begin with our top story. A human rights group has released its investigative report on the incident at Mbengwe Road in Bamenda, chief town of the northwest region of Cameroon. The incident of the 8th of December 2021, in which several houses were burned. Some persons reportedly burnt alive in their houses, and enormous material damage recorded. Shortly after the incident, there was a communique and a release from the Cameroonian Ministry of Defense from its communications division, which stated what the military noted as of the incident. But the report from the human rights group contradicts some of the facts and statements outlined in the communique of the ministry. The human rights report simply claims and dismisses claims that the act was unintended. Mbostela takes us back to the incident citing Bamenda and also views through the reports of the right group and the release of the Ministry of Defense.
Women searching through the ashes of their burnt shops for coins they left behind as they ran away to safety. For this animal feed store, this is all they recovered. It was a tragic December 8th for inhabitants and owners of businesses along Mbengwe Road in Bamenda 2 subdivision and shop owners at the hospital roundabout. At least 40 homes and shops were reduced to nothing, and about 8 vehicles burnt beyond repairs. Families have been rendered homeless, and civil status documents are the most valuable items victims say they have lost.
As I'm seated like this, I don't have a pin. What I'm crying is the birth certificate of the children, my own, the meeting books, everything. Attestation for my wife, and everything has been burned.
Like my picture where I said the crying society class 6, and get a big school bag where you stand up here.
A release dated December 10th, signed by Navy Captain Achomfangemo's Research, Head of Communication Division at the Ministry of Defense, states that a convoy of the 3rd Rapid Intervention Battalion on a reconnaissance mission on the Mbengwe-Bamenda axis was the target of a terrorist ambush. The release also informs the general public that during the gun battle that ensued, a house serving as hideout for the terrorists was discovered to be a warehouse for components used in making improvised explosive devices. In the course of the gun exchange, the chamber full of explosives got ignited, causing shock waves on a few nearby houses, but rights groups like the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa reports that the scale of distribution of burnt buildings plus the distance between the burnt sites demonstrate that the incident was a deliberate burning of the community of Mbengwe Road by state forces. violence. The conflict in Anglophone Cameroon is in its 5th year, and this continuous violence is an indication it is not ending soon until strategies are revised.
The video has gone viral on social media in Cameroon, provoking a wide range of reactions from Cameroonians both within and out of the country. And it is that of a so-called man of God who is now being qualified as a pastor of hate and division in Cameroon. In the very viral video, he is heard telling his faithfuls that Cameroonians must be delivered of a spirit he calls the Anglophone and the Bamileke spirit. He says the spirit must be tied together and taken to the dustbin for Cameroon to be able to prosper. We propose to you an extract of the declarations in French translated to the English language.
Tu dis quoi?
Si tu ne lis pas les Bamileke et tu les attaches et tu les envoies aux abîmes, vous n'allez pas respirer ici au Cameroun.
If you don't tie Bamilekes and Anglophones and take them to the dustbin, there will be no peace in Cameroon.
L'esprit Bamileke là doit être vraiment attaché.
Et les anglophones.
Et les anglophones.
Et si tu es Bamileke, convertis-toi en vrai. Et c'est pas toi de l'esprit Bamileke là. Je vous assure, je vous dis la pure vérité.
In Yaoundé, after the release of the video, he's been hunted by security officials, and of course reports say he is on the run, and some faithfuls of his church have been taken as to say that this very controversial preacher of the gospel, qualified by many as a pastor of hate and division, as you can see on your screens, hate, division, tribalism and division, is currently being hunted by security officials in Yaoundé, in the central region of the country. The hunt for the now called fake pastor began after the publication of this viral video on his official social media account and the church radio in the nation's political capital city. In the video, he is heard telling his followers that the Bamilekes and the Anglophone spirit is a bad spirit for Christians and Cameroon, from which every true Christian must be delivered. He went further to make shocking and derogatory statements against these communities in Cameroon to his Christians. The viral video provoked Christians and condemnations from across the globe, and also encouraged some of his victims who were former worshippers of his church, who say they had the properties robbed by the so-called man of God. The man of God who, according to them, also helped in robbing them of huge sums of money and their properties. It should be recalled that the incident immediately provoked the descent of security officials to the scene, and he is on the run. But the said man of God came out also on the very sad page, on a bad page and bad side of news in Cameroon during the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak in the country, where he asked his faithfuls not to put on face masks as recommended by the government of Cameroon and the World Health Organization. To him, the face mask represented instructions from the devil coming directly from hell. And of course, the Yaoundé 2 senior or divisional officer also ordered his arrest, but the going down to the church by security officials made a stiff reaction from some Christians, as stiff resistance rather. And now we talk something else. Difficulties faced by inhabitants of Mwa, which is one of the oldest subdivisions in Cameroon. The people say they've simply been abandoned. Mwa, created in the early days of independence in Cameroon, is an subdivision without electricity, without good roads, portable drinking water, very bad health system and health infrastructure. Schools are not well constructed in Mwa. Mbu Stella traveled several kilometers from the northwest regional chieftain Bamenda to Mwa and painted the picture of Mwa in the following report.
The sorry state of the outside of these block of 2 classrooms is a reflection of how challenging teaching and learning has been in some schools in Mwa and in Donga Mantung division. Inside some classrooms visited, the teaching and learning conditions are horrible. The roofs are falling off and the blackboards turning white. It is also a picture of government school Mwa, created over 4 decades ago and now has mostly dilapidated buildings but still very much in use.
In our class last night, when the teacher writes, we cannot see very well. The board is white.
In my class, we have many problems like poverty. Children, writing materials is a problem to children because parents cannot afford for school materials, school equipment for the children. So I find it difficult because you see children with 2 books in all the subjects. They write all the subjects in few books. The desks are not sufficient for the children. So you have 3, 4, 5 children sitting on the desks, making it difficult for children to write on the desks.
Through the 5th Joint Military Region, a block of 4 classrooms was recently renovated and equipped with 50 benches by the Ministry of Defense, thereby relieving the pupils and school administrators of the burden of overcrowded classrooms in an era also plagued by the coronavirus pandemic.
We're really grateful that our class 1A and B, instead of being in that class, if you go to that class now, the benches have gone right to the front, right near the blackboard, because we did not know where to put the class 2B. They are combined inside that class 1. So with this one now, the children are going to feel free. They are going to open up. They are going to learn, given the COVID-19 measure that we are supposed to be respecting, they will be able to respect it now with this building and the benches that are supposed to be put there as they have done. I think we really have to say thank you and go ahead to the general.
Welcome our general to North Division. We wish you a happy stay in North.
Over the weekend, the renovated block was inaugurated by Brigadier General Cavalier, commander of the 5th Joint Military Region. The newly renovated block now stands on a campus with other buildings, also begging for urgent renovation and space for the construction of other buildings for the ever-increasing population of school-going kids.
And we shall be coming back to some of the aspects of the very underdeveloped nature of Mwa subdivision. Subsequently, Wimbustela, who had a stay in Mwa subdivision, should be recovered. The people of Mwa said that the visit of General Cavalier is the second in a role of top security officials, or rather top government officials in Cameroon since the visit of former Prime Minister Simon Achidiachu. A statement that goes to tell how, according to them, Mwa has been abandoned by the central government in Cameroon. The mayor of Mwa also made some shocking revelations on the living conditions of the people of Mwa, one of the largest subdivisions in Cameroon with over 48 villages, and of course lying across the border with Cameroon and the neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Ministry of Livestock, on its part, is encouraging inhabitants of the Mungo division of the littoral region of Cameroon to make use of the farming materials given to them and institutions. The farmers, however, say that they are facing several difficulties and challenges getting to work with the working conditions, and rather with the materials available, and also with the structures made available by key officials in the ministry in Kongsamba, as Malak Glory tells us in the following report.
Breeders of the Mungo division and the littoral region face challenges of making their products reach their final consumers.
Production should not only end in the farm. We should see at the commercialization. And see at the commercialization, it means the manner in which all these things are presented. They want to present to improve the conditions.
Rebranding was a possible solution proposed by farmers during a workshop organized by the Ministry of Livestock and Fish Farming under the theme Value Chain Development. This to revamp the sector and to reduce poverty in the locality.
And this project has deals with certain speculation, fish farming, piggery, pork production, and bovine, which is cattle production.
After the official launching of the project, the farmers will be able to benefit from this opportunity.
The official launching of the project will be done, and then the activities on the field will follow. But in the days ahead, like I said, we are going to come to the field to identify what you all are doing so that we can start effective.
A project worth 65 million francs CFA will be set up in all the 10 regions of Cameroon.
And as days narrow in Cameroon to end of year festivities, security officials are launching crackdown on many of the underworld in several parts of Cameroon's 10 regions. In the central region of Cameroon, security officials in Yaoundé have arrested and presented some 6 persons said to be men specialized in trafficking cannabis and cocaine. In the course of their arrest, according to security officials, they were in possession of over 200 kilograms of cannabis and 10 grams of cocaine, as Innocent as tells us in the following report.
6 suspected cannabis and cocaine traffickers presented to the public alongside bags of the harmful drugs by officials of the Central Regional Delegation for National Security. They were transferred to the Judicial Police by a commander of the Special Operation Unit of the police. The cannabis contained in 4 heavy bags weigh about 200 kilograms, and the cocaine products, commonly called style, weighs 10 grams. According to heads of the Judicial Police, the suspects were apprehended at Quartier Manguier in Balafort in the home of a man called Kamdem, who has served a jail term and a drug trafficker in great quantity.
Multirécidiviste, repris de justice, trafiquant invétéré à la notoriété établie et connue, adepte aussi bien de la vente en gros qu'en détail.
It was an opportunity for the police to call on the population to be vigilant of drug trafficking and denounce traffickers.
Cette prise de cette saisie il y a lieu de sensibiliser les populations relativement au phénomène rampant.
That moral decadence and criminality are on the rise in educational establishments and in the society in general because of consumption of these drugs.
Par ailleurs, les leviers, n'est-ce pas, de la grande criminalité dans notre pays.
The population should collaborate with security forces for these traffickers who contribute in destroying youths and the society arrested.
Afin d'extirper du tissu social tous ces individus dangereux.
The suspected traffickers arrested will be presented before the State Council in the days ahead.
Talking point. Thanks for joining us on Talking Points. We are receiving a lady. We're receiving Kamchad Nadesh Nana. She is a writer, translator, and an interpreter. Nadesh, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you today.
I'm happy to be here with you too.
And you are early enough. You followed the news from starts. One of the very disturbing reports is that of a very controversial man of God in Yaoundé, making very disturbing comments vis-a-vis some communities and groups of people in Cameroon, telling faithfuls to be very careful and that they need to be delivered of some spirits that he links to some communities in Cameroon. When you listen to a man of God who is actually supposed to be a peace builder, a preacher of good news, making such comments, how do you feel?
I would personally say that I am someone who does not like violence in every nature, either by words, by action, or whatsoever. Whatever thing that I think you or I can say to hurt somebody, I prefer avoid it. So what I have to say is that every human being, we have our right of speech. We need to make our opinion known. But the most difficult part of it is our choices of words.
Okay.
Because words are something that whenever or once you use a word, it can never be withdrawn.
Once they go out,
it can never be withdrawn.
So you have to be very careful.
You have to be very careful with the choices of words made.
Yes, interestingly, he is amongst the community citers. He talked about the Anglophones, like saying that the Anglophone spirit must be tied and dumped to the dustbin for Cameroon to be able to advance. At a time when we are having a very disturbing security situation in North and Southwest regions. The Anglophone regions, these two regions, which are the two Anglophone regions in Cameroon.
Okay. I am very sensitive as long as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. And I wouldn't like to go deep into it or to give a personal opinion about it. Generally, I will just use this platform to extend my deepest sympathy to those who are affected by the crisis in one way or the other. And I would say that people have the right, they can say whatever they say,
but you are English speaking, like Anglophone. Do you feel concerned when you listen to somebody saying that the spirits of these people needs to be tied together and placed to the dustbin for the rest of the nation, or for the nation to advance? Are Anglophones really a problem to Cameroon?
I feel bad and I feel affected by the words, but I wouldn't like to say he is wrong or he is right.
All right. Now, when we're having these challenges, growing tensions and tribalism, sentiments, all that, can we actually? You are a writer and somebody who takes keen interest in people, in movements, and of migratory histories in Cameroon. How can we refer to this history, these migratory histories in Cameroon and movements, settlements, and all that, to be able to come out and limit the dangers that such sentiments might cause or provoke?
What I would say is that I, as an Anglophone, I feel bad about what is happening in my region, and I wouldn't like to touch or to go into detail about what is happening. I feel touched, my family feel touched, and every other person involved feel touched.
Yes.
So the only thing I would say is that as long as human beings are concerned, the presence of conflict is imminent. So the best of it is for us to see or to look for a better way to resolve our differences.
Like, you took interest in the Bao movement, and you think that it's something that can help Cameroon, the community immediately where they are in the northwest region, and also the rest of the nation, Cameroon, to be able to come out of the troubled waters.
Yes. My interest in writing the history and culture of Bawok is because, first and foremost, we all as human beings, we do not have a right to a particular place. We all are immigrants in one way or the other. We move either from north to south or from east to west. So the only thing I would like to say and to plead on everybody is that wherever we find ourselves, we just have to try to live in peace with our neighbors, because as long as human beings are concerned, as I earlier said, conflict must be present. So those who are involved, the solution lies in their hands.
There have been movements of everyone is coming from somewhere. Every community must have moved from somewhere to settle somewhere. You clearly outlined the movements of the Bao people, linking them to the West region of Cameroon. But it is important to note that they are currently within Bali subdivision of the Mezam in the northwest region.
Okay, the Bao people originated from, they are an integral part of the Bamileke.
Okay.
From the Ndé division, to be precise. So they originated from, let's say, from Egypt. Okay. They migrated from Egypt around between the 9th to the 14th century. They first found themselves around the northern part of Cameroon. From the northern part of Cameroon, due to Islamization, they came down to the western region of Cameroon around Bafang on the plateau there. So due to succession or palace dispute between two brothers, one of the brothers who deemed himself fit to be the successor decided to move out of the palace or out of his village with some of his followers and some kingmakers. So he started migrating from Bafang, settling from one bush to another, from one place to another, until finally they found themselves in the northwest region of Cameroon.
Yeah, precisely
in the Bali subdivision.
It's been a legendary presence there, living in harmony with the people and all that.
The living together with the Bali people, it has been something that we, the Bawok people and the Bali Nyonga people, they have had a peaceful cohabitation since their arrival, because they arrived at, the land is called the Bati land. The Bawok people arrived there when the Bati people were present on the land. They decided to move out of the land to Wandum in the Bangutus. So the land was owned by the Bawok people, and from there they had peaceful cohabitation with the Bali until recent, around 2007, that the Baliba or crisis came in.
Little challenges, but all has been good. They were able to surmount the challenges.
Yes.
And it's all been good.
Yes.
Something that several other communities need to also emulate, as you indicated.
Yes, the crisis, it was not something good crisis, because as crisis conflicts, they are not something that is good. They are not good.
Yes.
So after the crisis, I believe that the relationship between the Bali and the Bawa became tightened.
And strengthened.
Yeah.
Nadesh, I'm sure going to be having you again, because it's actually interesting there. But we must take our listeners and viewers to Yaoundé, the nation's political capital city. When we come back, we shall be having Equinoxe success. Thank you very much. Nadesh.
Thank you too.
Glad to have you again.
It was nice being here with you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with Equinoxe television. Stay in the company of very interesting programs on your #1 TV channel.